Um, so the agenda, we're going to focus on a couple of things today. Mostly, we want to spend some time talking about that first round experience and what people are doing for discoverability of new features. We also want to talk a little bit about discovery of settings. So we'll get into that after we do our introductions, but I did want to just kind of go over that real quick. Uh, I'll start since I'm already talking, and then I'll just hand it off to the next person. And so when you're done, just call on somebody next. Uh, so I'm Matt. I'm a PM on the VS Code team. I work a lot on the extension ecosystem, which is where this comes in, as well as I have a team that publishes about 7 or 8 different Azure-specific extensions for VS Code. And how about Lex?
Hi guys, my name is Lex Lee. I've been a personal consultant right now, running on my own company. I maintain one extension for restructure text language for VS Code. So yeah, that's the primary extension I'm working on. I also help some other companies working on their private VS Code extension. Primarily focusing on different programming languages. Yeah.
How about Eric?
Hi, I'm a developer on the VS Code team, also creator of GitLens extension and a bunch of other extensions. And just so everyone knows, I also run a community Slack for extension authors and VS Code developers. So if you're not in that, I would encourage you to join. And we'll post the link on the extension authors call where you can join for that if you're not already there. Let's see about Gustavo.
Okay, so it's a pleasure to be here. My name is Gustavo Cassel, and I've been developing some VS Code extensions for about 2 years. I am currently developing an extension to integrate VS Code with Google Drive API, so you can access and manage your files and folders from inside VS Code. And I have also developed and contributed to an extension which provides language server for COBOL language. Besides, I've worked on an extension to provide language server for Windows batch scripts and an extension to provide COBOL debug facilities for VS Code. That's it.
How about Hannah?
Hi, yeah, I'm Hannah, and I work in Google, and I'm the maintainer of the Go extension. And recently, yeah, we got the owner, the ownership of the Go extension was transferred, and thank you, Matt, for helping that. Yeah, and yeah, that's it.
Alessandro.
Hi, my name is Alessandro Fraiani. I'm working on extensions from the day one, I guess, on VS Code. I'm working on bookmarks and project manager extension, and also some Delphi extensions. That's it.
Nandini? You're muted right now.
Okay, there must be some audio issues. Am I audible now?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. Hi, I am Nandini Sharma, and I am a senior year student, and currently an MSP. Microsoft Student Ambassador Program I am into, and I just joined in April. Then we were involved in VS Code Hackathon, and so yeah, we kind of win it. So that was a very overwhelming experience of the hackathon. And so yeah, I'm here to learn from you all.
Cool. Akansh? Sorry, I haven't names.
Yeah, that was the correct pronunciation. Hi, I am Ekansh Gupta, and I am also a beta Microsoft student partner, and I am also a senior year. Senior year. I'm in my senior year. Okay, so yeah. Apart from that, yes, I was with Nandini in the team for VS Code extensions hackathon, and we made a extension which actually increased the accessibility in developing and underdeveloped countries. So this extension is more about converting an image to text directly into VS Code. So in countries like India and in countries which are underdeveloped like Kenya or in Africa, so there are people who have they start learning code uh, with on a sheet of paper and not with a computer because they do not have computers, and that's why we try to integrate Azure's Read API in the extension so that we can just click the code that the person has written on the sheet of paper and just scan it over on VS Code.
Very cool. George Cuddy? Not sure with that one.
Yeah, hi. Yeah, it's George Guti. Okay, yeah. So, hi, my name is George Guti, and I'm a full stack JavaScript developer based in India. Currently, I'm working as a lead engineer at Cubase Technologies. And my about my extension, it's called Docker Run. It will help you to start Docker containers automatically whenever you open a project or whenever you change a workspace. So yeah, that's all about my extension. Actually, I have released it 3 weeks back, so I'm pretty new to it.
Yeah, and then Dan, did you get your audio fixed?
Pardon me?
Oh, next person, Dan.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if he said he was having audio trouble earlier. And then other VS Code folks, you can just go. How about Burke?
Hey folks, my name is Burke. I work on the cloud advocacy team and I do a lot of stuff with VS Code, and I'm just here to lurk and listen and take notes for at least the first half. Then I have to jump a little early, Matt. Sorry about that. Hi, everybody.
Nah, you're good. Adi.
Hey, so I'm Adi. I'm on the VS Code team as an intern. Let's see, I am a senior and I go to U Waterloo. And I've been working on increasing accessibility in the settings editor. I also worked on the exposing object type settings in the settings editor that was released in the June release. Yeah, Bridget.
Hey everyone. So yeah, I'm Bridget. I am a PM on the VS Code team. I just joined about a month back, and I've been focusing on remote development to start with. So on the 3 remote extensions, so remote containers, SSH, and WSL. And then Jackson.
Yeah, I think Jackson's the last one.
Yeah, hey, I'm Jackson. I started out VS Code as a software developer about almost a year ago now. I've been working on the search editor and various like internal triaging things. I'm here mainly just to listen in on what you guys' experiences with extension development and how I might be able to help with that.
Cool. I think that's everybody. There's still Dan, but I think again he's still having some audio problems. All right, so
I actually dialed in via phone. So
nice. All right, go for it.
Yeah, sorry, I'm not sure where you are currently at, since I think I missed the first 5 minutes or so, or 10.
I was just doing introduction and about your extensions that you work on.
Okay. Hi. So I'm Dan. I work for SUSE, which you might have heard of since we got into a relatively big acquisition 2 days ago. I'm part of the developer engagement program there, and I've been working the past half year on an extension for Visual Studio Code that integrates it with our with the Open Build service, which is one of our big products.
Very nice. Okay, so that's it for introductions. Eric, do you want to kick off the open discussion, or do you want me to do it?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so I mean, basically, just to set the stage, we as the VS Code team, we want to improve the experience of finding features, finding settings, having the welcome experience, all that sort of stuff better for the end user. And so as we're thinking through different things that we could do to provide different UI UX for handling those scenarios, we want to gather as much information we can from extension authors for how to shape those things, as well as like we know some extensions will show a welcome page to get users oriented in startup. Some extensions will show you a series of notifications when certain things happen, or sometimes on startup. Some extensions will show notifications when things have changed, like on an update. So there's a lot of requirements of why extensions want to do that and what they get out of doing that. So we want to learn, rather than making different assumptions. I mean, of all the different needs, we want to learn what those requirements are, why those things happen, what you guys want out of it, and then how we can shape that sort of happening. And to set just a scenario, right? Like a lot of extensions today will show a welcome or something on update. But if you think of the scenario as I'm the first time user VS Code, I'm installing your extension for the first time, that welcome page is probably welcome, right? You really want it. But if I'm now opening this on a new machine, or I'm now synced my settings from this machine to this other machine, or I'm now opening a code space with this, now I'm going to get that welcome all over again. Because it's, so, but now I'm not only going to get your welcome, I'm going to get a welcome for every single extension that is now getting synchronized. And, that is not a great experience for the end user. So we're trying to figure out, different ways we can handle that by, sharing data better across those scenarios, or, letting extensions have user level data or that sort of thing. But so that's sort of the theme of it is, we want a better experience for the end user, and to figure out how we can provide that by, learning what extension authors need, want, and, how we can help with that. So with that, anyone want to kick off any thoughts?
May I start?
Go for it.
Go for it.
Okay. So I've been following VS Code Tips channel on YouTube, and and one of the extensions presented there is Code Tour, where you can add some flags, or you can record a kind of tour on your code. And so when new people join your team, or starts looking at your code, can understand some basic or the most important steps to follow on the code. And I think that this idea of providing a kind of tour is really nice. I'll give an example of the extension I am developing to interact with Google Drive. The user, on the first time when installs the extension, needs to set up the credentials to have access to Google Drive. So I think it's a little complicated just to explain on the README file how to do it. and it would be nice if I could provide a tour or a step-by-step help on the commands available and how to make the environment okay and prepared for extension usage. And we could maybe provide a kind of API on VS Code to help extensions provide that.
So you mean basically like have some sort of registration that this is your welcome experience and that should be shown?
Yes, that's it. And besides, when you open VS Code for the first time, or you are on the welcome page of VS Code, there is a button on the bottom part of the welcome page that when you click shows some arrows to the command palette and gives a little explanation about what the command palette is and some other nice features on the welcome page of VS Code. So I think it would be nice if we had something similar for extensions, and we could point out that on this view you can do that, and there is that setting that you can change the behavior of this view and so on, like a kind of tour through settings and commands.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, you mentioned the extension that runs you through the source code. I think CodeTour is the extension you're talking about. Is that right? Give you like comments and stuff like that.
Yes. That extension, CodeTour, gave me this idea of providing some tour facilities for general purpose usage for extensions. For example, on this CodeTour extension, we create tours on source code. But I think it would be nice if we could create tours on the extension itself. Like this command do that, this view do that, this setting do this. And you can change the setting to do a different thing, like a step-by-step configuration and a guided tour through extension.
Okay, I like that. Hannah, you had your hand up. You want to go?
Yeah, so actually, I really like GitLens's welcome page because it actually, I don't know, like other people use GitLens, but GitLens, when I install it, the welcome page has the custom web view like thing. So like it actually goes through all the settings that user has to go through, like the necessary settings. So what happens is like in the Go extension, now we have like gazillions of settings, and some settings are relevant in a certain context. For example, now Go extension is transitioning to language server model. And now the old settings, some of old settings are not relevant if language server is turned on. So like it would be nice if there is a welcome page and that shows the basic settings, and that can change, the set of settings changes based on what user selected so far. So let's say I select enable language server. Then the setting page or welcome page shows only the subset of the setting relevant to this use case. Because now like the setting page is so large and users got confused. And like I really like GitLens's welcome page model, and it would be nice if that feature is available to other extensions, because it requires a lot of engineering effort to reproduce for other extensions. And another thing is the internationalization. There are many users from the countries where English is not the first language, and like currently Marketplace doesn't support internationalization properly. And settings page, some settings pages are broken. So it would be nice if extension authors can somehow provide the translation and then settings page and all the UI supports internationalization. So yeah, that's what I wanted to talk today.
Yeah, the whole idea of conditional or contextual settings is definitely really interesting. Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the GitLens welcome and GitLens settings, and yeah, I mean, definitely, structuring that, right, is because GitLens has probably literally hundreds of settings, and they're, any one of them, right, could be quite arcane and to understand exactly what it's going to do. But yeah, being able to show it, or at least be able to show it in context with other grouped settings that these things belong together, go together. That makes it a lot more digestible and understandable. So yeah, definitely agree there.
Sorry, I'm just taking notes here. Dan, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, so what I'd find quite useful would be if there was some built-in way to display a history, something like a Git log. If VS Code itself provided an API to do that, and preferably not only a linear one, but something with branches. Since currently you can display a linear history relatively simple via a tree view, for instance. But once you have branches involved, it gets you essentially have to create a web view. So I know there's a VS Code extension that displays a Git log with branches, and it's relatively pretty, but it's only for Git. And if there was some built-in way how to do that, that would be really terrific. And since you guys recently started working on this, I forgot the exact name, but there's a new proposed API for changes, and if that could also be extended, for instance, to show a history in a branched fashion, that would help me greatly.
You mean the timeline API?
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, stuff like that definitely gets challenging with the tree structures that we currently have set up. But yeah, that is something that we've definitely thought about and talked about. It's just can we how we display that sort of information. The timeline has really is about file history, and there's definite trade-offs between what extensions support, what core supports, and how much people need from different experiences. But yeah, I definitely hear it is only like the Git graph extension does a great job at showing that sort of layout in a web view. But yeah, like you said, it is for Git only. Any other thoughts on just like the welcome or settings?
Okay, so I have some feature requests maybe. So from VS Code API, our extension can read the configuration using get configuration, the section, the setting name, and then we get a value, right? However, for my own extension, there are sometimes I need to display a notification to the end users saying one of the setting doesn't seem to be right. But is there a possibility to provide an API such as view configuration so that I can show a link for end users? They click that and blah, VS Code open the configuration UI for them to review what is this setting and what are the values that they should fix. Because many power users are quite experienced. They know how to edit a setting in VS Code, but recently I acquired actually some new users. They're not only new to my extension, but also new to VS Code. It's a little bit challenging for them to jump to the setting page and locate how to edit that. Yeah, I know welcome page is a great way to educate them, but if we can also improve some way from the error notification, then it will be better for beginners to get started.
Yeah, I think it's technically possible to do that today because we do expose a command that will open up the settings, and I'm pretty sure there's a parameter you can specify to that command to get it to start with a search query. So it won't jump you to the exact setting, but if your search query is specific enough, it should get you practically right there. And then VS Code allows you to embed commands as links. So using the command : scheme, you can embed commands as links in web views, in the hovers, in the notifications. And so you can format that. I can't say for 100%. I mean, I know we can open the settings, and I'm pretty sure there's a thing for the search, but I can test that out after this, or if you can ping me in the community Slack, I can send you an example of that, because I'm pretty sure that can happen today.
Okay, thank you, Eric. And the second feature request I have is more regarding the audience of extension author. So when we write the extension, sometimes we feel probably is it possible to have an extension for extension authors? For example, I received twice email from VS Code team on GitHub repo. So you identify some of the legacy APIs still used by my extension. And you mentioned, that page indicates how to fix that. So if we have an extension for extension authors, then every author can install that and periodically scan our code base actually live and indicate what are the API that might be obsolete and we should migrate as early as possible. Yeah. And that's only one feature of that extension, right? We can add much more, such as extract a string in your extension to the resource file, so you can do multi-language support. Right? And currently we have to do it manually, and it's not that convenient. Yeah. That's it.
Yeah. So definitely you can create an extension. I mean, there is actually at least one extension in the marketplace that I know of that is targeted at extension authors, which gives you like a visualization of your package JSON of how it will be rendered on both the marketplace and sort of inside VS Code. So it's like the extension manifest extension. So yeah, I definitely think there could be decent value in having an extension targeted at authors to provide, code quick fixes, deprecations, help information, that sort of stuff. Yeah, I think that would be great. Let's see. Dan?
Sorry.
Yeah, so to the extension for extension authors, at least part of that about the deprecated APIs, I guess this could also be an ESLint plugin maybe, or for some other linter. I guess that would be maybe easier to pull off. And another suggestion which I'd really love to see would be if there was maybe some officially sanctioned and officially tested mocking framework for VS Code, so that you can that you can use to mock certain parts of VS Code, for instance, events, or essentially anything that's user facing. Since testing that currently is relatively awkward, since you have to essentially mock it out yourself and then try to replicate VS Code's behavior, and it gets a bit hairy in places, since if you don't do it exactly as VS Code does it in practice, then your tests either report false positives or false negatives. So if there was some officially tested framework that would make certain types of tests definitely a lot easier.
Yeah, definitely to the first thing, we thought about the possibility of some ESLint rules or some sort of linting to do that. Actually, sort of put that on hold, at least right now, because TypeScript is adding deprecation support. It's actually the first bits of it shipped in VS Code in the June release that just went out. So now you should see like a strikeout on method calls or anything that are deprecated, and then you can actually either you can or you will be able to opt into warnings for those deprecations, and we've marked most of the VS Code APIs that are deprecated as that in the JS docs, so those should show up in that as well. So hopefully with that support, that will give you the basic lint and reporting in the editor for those changes. But yeah, to your second point on the unit testing, that's definitely come up before. I think it's either the last author's call or the one before that. There is an issue about testing. I can post that issue.
I know that. I'm following that already.
Okay, and so there is some, I haven't looked into it personally in too much detail about what is provided. Like some, I don't know if maybe it was you. I thought it was someone from SUSE that posted that they had, mocked out a lot of VS Code and for that, to use as a basis there. So I haven't looked at that, but yeah, I think. To be honest, I think a good community effort around that mocking sort of thing and providing that sort of ability would help a lot. So anything that can be done there. But yeah, we've definitely heard that the mocking is definitely challenging. I mean, internally, we use a lot of the integration tests and actually automate VS Code directly. So there you can do that as well. So that way you're not trying to rely on mocking and that behavior. Just granted, your tests are going to take longer to run, but yeah.
Just out of interest, what do you use for automation? Since the only thing that I know is VS Code Extension Tester from Red Hat, which I use for my extension. But it has the slight disadvantage that collecting test coverage from that is essentially impossible. Yeah, I mean, a lot of our extensions are, our frameworks are just using the VS Test support that we provide, where just automates the VS Code UI, and that sort of like the basics of that through Mocha are baked into the extensions, the skeleton that we provide. I honestly, personally haven't done much on the VS Code testing. If you look at GitLens, there's not any tests there, so I'm bad about that. So I would definitely defer to others who have much more experience with testing there.
Yeah, that almost sounds like an idea for a future one of these calls where we have people who have some experience with testing and just talk about that.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Does anybody else have go ahead.
Yeah. Hello. Am I audible again? So I just wanted to ask that if it's allowed to call extension in an extension, is it possible? Because I in our project, what we are doing is that we are clicking a picture of a handwritten code and then we are putting it into VS Code's editor, right? So if we could actually beautify the whole thing and we could, call an extension in that project so that we can have the indentations properly. After we get it scanned and we get it in the editor. Is it possible to call an extension in an extension itself?
So having one extension call another, is that the question?
Yeah.
Yes, you can. The VS Code has the extension API. So in the namespace, VS Code.extension or extensions, you can get extensions or check that they're loaded, that sort of thing. And then depending on the extension you're trying to call, you can get so if that extension exports an API, you can actually get that from there. So like an extension like LiveShare has an API that they export. The Git extension, like the built-in Git extension, has an API that it exports. So you can get the API directly from the extension object there. Or if extensions, if they're using commands, then you don't even need to go through that. You can just call those commands directly. So, and the command API lets you actually look for the existence of commands too. So you can sort of like get a list of commands, and then if the command you're looking for is there, you could do it one of two ways, right? You can check for the extension existing or the command existing, and then execute the command. And if the command the commands are nice in that you don't have to worry about if the extension is activated or loaded, because in theory they have an activation on that command being executed, so that will spin that up and then execute the command for you.
Okay, thank you.
So I have a feature request. So I don't know why VS Code is using JavaScript or TypeScript for their development. So there are a lot of developers who do not know these languages. So is it possible anyhow to just write an extension in a different language like Python or C++, or have a wrapper over JavaScript like Brython, which can do the same?
You can use WebAssembly.
Yeah, so you can. So technically, no, but you can do it in multiple ways. As Dan mentioned, you can, if you can compile your thing down to something else that WebAssembly can consume and then output, you can use WebAssembly in there. Or you can have sort of a shim that, you have some JavaScript bit of the extension call out to another process or something that is your, C#, Python, whatever, language server, whatever it is, and how to communicate, and you can sort of do that through there. But you would still need to shim that from the VS Code side in JavaScript, TypeScript, or something that basically compiles down to JavaScript, because what needs to be run in the extension host is JavaScript. But there could be many languages can be transpiled into JavaScript, or run through WebAssembly or that sort of thing.
Okay, thank you.
That's a good question, though. I mean, what do you need? Like, do you have things you just need to be a little bit higher performance, or what?
No, actually, I have little to no clue about JavaScript as of right now. When I was doing the hackathon, I just read about JavaScript and made the extension, and I was not able to get the full features out of it because I am a Python developer and I know how to call out things in Python. So yeah, so basically in VS Code, I think that's lesser a JavaScript thing and more of a Node.js thing, I guess. I have no clue because I used Axios and it can be used only in Node.js, so I am just guessing. So yeah, that's the thing. I can easily do the whole extension in Python in under an hour, But yeah, for doing that in JavaScript and for learning JavaScript first, it was quite a task. So that's why I was trying to just have a language such as either a framework or a wrapper such as Python or some other language which can directly run in VS Code.
Cool. That sounds good. Anybody else that has needs for a welcome page? Hannah, go ahead.
I would like one point about settings when you start up. Some settings, I think, some extensions Go, for instance, it uses some what I call necessary settings. Some settings you have to define. So I guess extensions could register some of the settings, and when this extension is installed, it should be displayed. So that setting could be automatically over to the user, and the user would provide the settings. And the commands, just like I think Gustavo talked about, the walkthrough, when you start VS Code, I guess the name is walkthrough, you could display some commands being what I call, instead of order, alphabetic order, you could provide the commands that you would like to be favorites, I guess. So your extension has 10 commands, but 2-3 of them are the more important. So you could provide this as your favorite, just for the startup.
When you saying comments, or I'm sorry, I missed that.
Commands itself, commands.
Okay.
For instance, bookmarks has the toggle bookmark, has the jump to bookmark, has selection bookmark. When you open and you look for bookmark commands, you have a lot of commands. Getlens also has this. So yep. I could say bookmarks, and the first command that I would like to be is toggle, because it's the main command for the extension.
Yep. Yeah, I definitely agree. Again, sort of like settings, right? Commands. Once you have an explosion of them, it gets hard to find the specific ones, and some of them are, less useful in certain instances, more useful globally. Yeah, so favorites idea, or sort of more important is I like that a lot. Kind of the same for settings, right? There's some settings like this. For Getlens, right? I have a lot of settings that I have under like their Getlens.advanced because they like really shouldn't be tweaked, but if you need to, they're there. But as a bad happenstance, right? Once the settings UI got added, then they show up as the first because they start with A. So like the first experience, everyone comes there, and the first things are the worst settings that you want to touch.
Exactly.
So like settings order and being able to say like even hide them from the UI or sort of like de-emphasize them from the UI is also a very important thing.
That's it.
Go ahead, Hannah.
Okay, so now it's about settings. So like I wish there is some issue report support that grabs the current settings user uses. So what happens is like now there is a global setting, and there is workspace setting, and there is also remote setting. And whenever there is some issue report, like we ask users, can you grab this section from the global setting and do this to look at the JSON page and then grab this. And then also remember to find the workspace settings if there is any. So I wish there is some a easy way for user to get the relevant settings and then append this in the issue report. And also VS Code has default issue report, primitive issue report command. I think it's good for VS Code issue tracker, but for extension issue tracker, it doesn't support the template. It doesn't support additional information attachment, like a setting, relevant settings. So I think there is a long outstanding issue there already open, and I hope to see something moving there, like a easy issue report support.
Yeah, I definitely like the issue report capture the settings, because it is definitely difficult of trying to figure out, like where these settings are, where they're coming from, because there's definitely confusion with the layering of settings. But my first question is, would you be okay with just getting your extension settings versus the broader array? Because there's definitely concerns with the wider array, but there could also, in general, be concerns with even your own settings, because like maybe your setting requires a personal access token or something else that's got sensitive information in it, that becomes a little bit more challenging. But I'm just curious on thoughts on that.
So probably the starter is just to start with, we can specify what setting we are interested in, right? And also I hear the privacy concern. So probably it's not just to dump everything to the issue tracker, send over the wire. That is not right. Probably user should see what is reported and then select easily edit. I try to implement it, and then I'm not very good at JavaScript yet or TypeScript yet. So I sort of gave up and then waiting for the issue moving. But definitely there is a privacy concern and confidentiality information concern. Yeah, so that should be addressed.
Okay. And then the other one about the issue reporting for extensions, that one was really interesting to me, especially with, as you mentioned, the template. I honestly hadn't thought about that. I don't know if I've heard that one before.
Actually, I can give you that. So currently, each repository has the template, issue template. That is ignored. I don't know if there is any way to actually enforce this. Just basically, VS Code just opens the issue URL and then give the VS Code relevant information, like what is operating system, what is a version of VS Code. But as an extension author, we need more information. So I don't know how to implement it. That is a detail. Yeah, I wish. And another feature that I want to see is currently many extensions, they have a stable version and preview versions, right? And easy switching between these two might be really awesome. Currently Python, for example, they have a separate channel, a separate preview channel, and switching that. C++2, that extension also has their own mechanism. And then Go extension, we have a separate extension that is a headache actually. So it would be nice if Marketplace supports a preview version. User can opt in to switch to early access program or a preview option and then get that version. If there is any bug fix, then they can try easily without going through all this uninstall or downloading the extension. So that is another feature request. I think that's all.
So that the beta extensions, that's come up a couple of times in the calls before, and that's something that is on the backlog for the marketplace. The reason that we haven't started working on it quite yet is because we're working on some security pieces within the marketplace. That's high priority right now, but beta extensions are absolutely on the list. I do have questions about that though. What is your expectation with that? Because what we've been toying with was the idea that any extension that you publish that has a semantic versioning beta tag on it, so -beta1 or -alpha, whatever, the marketplace will automatically treat those as a beta extension, and they will show up separate than just regular stable extensions. And then over in VS Code, a customer will have to opt into receiving beta versions, and then they'll start getting ahead of the stable version. Does that kind of match your expectations?
Yeah, that is actually what I like. So customer wants, like maybe there could be pop-up you want to open, and then after that, yeah, like maybe separate the delivery channel, like and then get the new versions, like a preview version, like as it updates, and then maybe user later can switch back to something else, like the stable version. Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Maybe about this beta extension, you could at first make the extensions be able to install only on the insiders. So if the user wants to be a beta tester for an extension, it would use the insiders release. So it would be, I guess, the first step.
Yeah, I think that is also yeah, that also works too. Like usually insiders, yeah, these new features will be available. So the preview, like that can be like released together with the VS Code, the new version. Yeah, I think I like that idea too.
So you're saying that if I'm a customer and I'm an insiders, I should just always get the beta version of your extension?
Not always. Still, like a user wants to open. Like for example, I'm a developer. I use the insider version, but I sometimes want to test with the stable version or with the future version of VS Code. So not always. Still open, but maybe the first like how to activate this. Like maybe we can start from the insider users. Oh, you're using insider. So do you want to try this beta version?
I see. I got you. Cool. Thank you.
So we're getting close on time. I did want to just touch on quickly, you know, it covers a little bit of like feature discovery, but, you know, mainly for like, you know, an update has happened. So, you know, like as long as users haven't touched the default settings, right? Every time you launch VS Code or, you know, something there, right? Any extension that's been published with an update gets automatically updated in the background. Is sort of seamless. And, you know, unless the extension does something, right? There's nothing that the user knows that, hey, something has changed. So I'm curious on, you know, like obviously for certain extensions, there's a notification that says, hey, you know, there's stuff that's new, check out our release notes. Or other extensions bring up a web view that says, here's the release notes and or what's new that's changed. You know, we definitely want to look at this experience because, you know, if you're an end user, sometimes you might like that. But if a bunch of extensions update all together, then instead of getting one thing, you're getting like 6, and that's not a nice experience. And like, you know, managing that, like, you know, if they just pop up in your face, that's not ideal, right? Because like it's taking your attention when you're trying to work. So, you know, at the same time, right, there's an importance from the extension because they're trying to convey some information. So I'm curious to hear from, you know, extension authors of just like, what are your main goals out of the, you know, what's new? Like, you know, because there could be many, right? It's just like things have moved, settings have changed, all this sort of stuff. Like, what are some of the concerns or some of the things that you want that experience to let your users know that you've been updated outside of just saying, hey, we've updated, right? Because that's like, you know, the most basic. So just want to open that up to get some thoughts on that. So as we're thinking about the UI, we can sort of take all these requirements and concerns into that.
For me, updates on any extension or VS Code itself is important, I guess. I always read the entire changelog, the entire release notes to see what's new. And I think extensions could could provide the same information. When I first saw GitLens updates and welcome pages, I really liked the idea. So most of my extensions has the same updates. I just try to not be to put in front of the users everything updates. So if I make just a patch, no notification is made, but updates or upgrades when something graded is changed, it's displayed. Mostly to the user see what's new. That's the main idea. But I see sometimes you have 3, 4, 5 instances of VS Code, and the same welcome page, the same updates is displayed for all your windows. So if we could provide some way to avoid the other windows, would be a great idea.
Hannah, you had your hand up. Go ahead.
Sorry.
Hannah has her hand up.
Oh, I don't think I did. Yeah, but I like this what's new page idea. Just just one minor thing is like sometimes there is a major extension version of, and then we have a lot of things to say in the what's new page. But sometimes like a small bug fix release, and there are not many things that we want to actually say in the what's new page, and I don't know what is the right way to manage this what's new page or get a notice.
Yeah, we have that as well, where new features, big problems that we fixed, and then sometimes we move things.
Yeah.
Like just tell people like this feature has moved to this spot. Gustavo?
Yeah, but like basically like let's say version 1.0, like we have major new feature, and then we quickly find some bug, and so we do the point release. And then in this case, I want to hold all this what's new page, like the previous version, and then with minor fix. Like by the way, like there is this new version carries only small minor bug fix. Like, I don't know, like what kind of a freedom like will be given to accumulate to author this what's new page, but it's like more than change look, I guess. We can add images and everything, right? I don't know, like yeah, but it's a good thing.
So we're just out of time, but Gustavo and Akansh, can you guys go ahead?
Okay. Well, maybe if we had a kind of guided tour, like I said in the beginning, when the extension updates, the extension could provide a guided tour through what has changed. Like it shows an arrow to a new command, and you click on the next button, and you go to the next part of the feature of that the extension has provided. So you can guide the user step by step through the new features. Maybe a guided tour through the changes or something like that.
Yeah, I like that. Go ahead, Akash.
Yeah, so I was asking, like in every new major update the developer is pushing, can we embed a video tour in the welcome page?
Yeah, I mean, it's a web view, so you can, you would have to package that with your extension, but yeah, you can definitely load video elements there.
Is it possible to just force update every user? Because the previous version might have some deprecated APIs or features that we just want to nullify and just want to get every user on the newest update as soon as possible. So Is it possible to just force everyone to update with the new changelog?
No, I mean, by default, right, it will auto update, but there are definite rules depending on, if your extension says it only supports this version of VS Code going forward, then older users get the most recent version that they can support. So you can't force that sort of upgrade. And yeah, extensions don't have any direct support for forcing an upgrade.
Okay, so do we need to have a very major change log even if we do not have a very big update to push?
Say that one again.
Do we need to have a very big change log even if we do not have a very big update, a major update, like not so many features are changing or nothing new is happening, just some bug fixes?
Yeah, you can. I mean, it's totally up to the extension author of how they ship it, how they determine the version numbers, what's in the update. So yeah, you can ship something that's as tiny as can be or as big.
So as Gustavo mentioned about the guided tour, so is it possible to do that? Like, is it possible to ask a user to go to the settings or go press this button, like a guided tour that many of the IDEs have?
So kind of, so there isn't any like built-in guided tour or any sort of facility for pointing to different things, but you could have UI that executes certain commands that will focus certain areas of the UI that have commands available for them, or open the command palette. But you have limited ability of what you can do when you open that. So there's some limited ability to do that. It's definitely not a sort of robust, scenario of where you can say go do this next and that, and it also would have to live in a web view or notifications or some sort of other UI. It's not something that's baked in, but you can fake some of it depending on your requirements.
Okay, thank you.
All right, we are officially over. So I'm going to say right in there, I will post the video to the issue that you signed up in. And yeah, thank you all.
Yeah, thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it.
Thanks
Okay,
for
thank
having.
you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.